Okay, so in this lecture today, we are going to discuss the topic of quality of expansion, contraction, what actually makes a few charts linear and smooth, and what exactly one means by it. Like, what is a linear and smooth chart? Yes, a lot of us have a visual idea, but let's try to quantify it today, and how exactly it helps us. Let's see that. So, for that, to explain that, I've made a simple chart here that I'll present to you, and that will really help you understand this topic. So, look, what do we have? In the markets, we have one thing. You probably would have seen it called as market structure, right? So, we have a structure within which we have three divisions. We have uptrend, downtrend, and range. That's what we have, right? So, today we are discussing from a point of view of trend, which is uptrend or a downtrend. Okay. And that's what we will do. Now, look, when we talk about structure, and let's say it is the uptrend we are talking about, usually what is the representation of it? So we say, okay, this is how higher highs and higher lows is what an uptrend looks like, correct? And then we further divide that into calling it as, we say this, and this. We call this as expansion, right? And then we call this area, and this area as contraction. All right, that's what we say. So we can say that expansion plus contraction build an uptrend structure. So if let's say I say that we have a chart in front of us, and it currently is, let's say, going in the uptrend. This is how we watch it, and we call that this entire uptrend, the chart area, looks very smooth and linear to us, which means that we are taking in how the expansion is along with the contraction. So it's E plus C, right? Expansion plus contraction, and they both make the chart visually smooth, right? Or clean, as some people like to call it as. All right. Which means, well, expansion needs to be smooth, and contraction also needs to be smooth as well, right? Then only the entire structure will actually look clean and smooth. Okay. So within expansion, what actually makes up expansions? It is candlesticks. Okay. It is candlesticks, right? For an expansion to be smooth, the candlesticks which make up the entire expansion should also be smooth, right? So for a structure to be called as linear or smooth, this is how it needs to be. So the candlesticks need to be smooth, which in turn will make my expansion smooth. And even the contraction that we need to have really good candles over there. Uh, sort of the candles we expect a contraction to have. And then this needs to happen over and over again for us to actually have a structure and call that structure as smooth or clean. Okay. And this is exactly what we will discuss in great detail right now. So this is what, this diagram actually talks about. We have a structure which is built by expansions plus contractions. Expansion 1, expansion 2, expansion 3. Let's say we have had, 1, 2, 3. They will in turn will have individual candlesticks. Now, there is one more important area that we usually kind of ignore, and that is what actually happens between an expansion and contraction. Which exactly is, how does an expansion end and how does the contraction start? This is absolutely crucial when it comes to deciding the quality of the chart or the quality of the expansion or the contraction itself. And we will see it. Okay, now I'll show you a chart here, which is taken. Now, When you look at this, when you look at this area, when you look at this area, this looks extremely linear, right? It looks very smooth. Even the same applies for the contraction. Visually, if we just see this, we will call, yeah, this is very clean. Yeah, this is very smooth, very linear. Now, this is a weekly chart of a stock, which on the daily time frame is in upper circuits, right? When we see the weekly of it, it looks very smooth and neat. And that's what you will see the stocks, which are hitting circuits, upper circuits every single day. If you see their monthlies or weeklies, you will see they're one of the smoothest, cleanest, and most linear looking charts, like the one that you have in front of you. And that's honestly a great place to start from to study this topic. So, what is the underlying thing that is happening with these stocks which actually make these charts so smooth and clean? Do you know that what that is? And that exactly is this, the word consistency. Because if you see the upper circuit stocks, they, let's say, they keep hitting plus 5%, like this every single day on daily for, like, say, next 50 days. This is how they look, right? What exactly is happening? And if I see the weekly of this, the weekly will be a candle like this for the next 10 weeks. And each candle will be very similar, will be exactly similar. So the underlying point over here is actually that it is all about consistency, how consistent everything is. So with these charts, the underlying every single day is a plus 5 with no drama, right? There are no upper wicks or lower wicks. That in turn gives you these clean looking charts. And that's exactly where the concept of consistency comes. So smooth linear is nothing but consistency. Okay. Now let's see some few drawings and let's try to understand through charts. So let's say we have this here. Okay. These 6 scenarios. The first one is obviously expansion that we see here. So this is expansion. All right. And this is contraction. Okay. Now let's say if I name these columns as 1, 2, and 3, and if I ask you which one is smooth or clean or linear, obviously I believe everyone will say it's 3, right? Because we literally said linear. Okay. And this is how linear charts look. And also, if you paid attention, consistency, right? Smooth linear is nothing but consistency. Well, the third column comes extremely close to that. What about the ones and twos? They are actually really interesting cases. Now, try to visualize this one case using candlesticks. So, let's try to do that work. What I see this is, well, we started off really great, In a short duration of time, we went up a lot. But then, in a lot of period of time, we didn't move as much. We slowed down. So, is it actually consistent? The answer is no, it's not consistent. Because till this point, if we take till this area, you'll be like, in just a short duration of time, we went up a lot. But post that, for such a long period of time, we just creeped up just a little bit, right? So, certainly, this is not consistent with time. Uh, Same for this case. You will actually see that, well, till this point, you were moving up just all right. But then, in a very short period of time, you just went a lot up, right? So, again, not consistent. But with this, it's pretty consistent, right? It's pretty consistent on the left and on the right as well. Now try to see this, try to visualize a candlesticks over here. So let's say I draw it. So you know how this will look? This will look like this. So we have a really amazing candle here. Then again, let's say we had a really great candle. like this. And just to make it a bit realistic, I will give it some wick as well, so it looks better. Okay, and after this, what starts happening? Well, you start to get candles which are not doing much for the stock. So let's say we get a candle like this, then we get a candle which looks like this. And post this, we start getting maybe, let's say, a candle, which opens up, closes below. Then we get another candle which is pretty small, not going anywhere. Then again, you get a candle with a long upper wick. And kind of that's the fashion, it keeps moving up. Just few increments. And then maybe, let's say, we get another candle which looks like this. So, what are you observing? So, well, with time, we are observing that the way it is moving up is certainly not consistent, because this is all a part of expansion only. All right. So, that is one thing. That is the structure when everything is combined. But when you actually also see individually, see each single candle, right? They are not consistent. They are very different. Even though we are still in an expansion only, we are still part of an expansion. They are very different. So it is not consistent. This is how it will look like. Now take an example of this one. So what happens usually in these cases is, well, let's say you start off like this, where the candles look like this. Try to visualize how they will look like along with me. So small candles, and then maybe there will be a few candles like this. So we are slowly inching up just a little bit, not a lot. So the kind of pace we have going up is not a lot. This is how it looks. To make it a bit realistic, let's add some wicks. And then suddenly, we were having an expansion, a very slow paced one. Then, well, we start getting a candle like this. Then we get a candle like this. And then this is how it kind of turns out to be. All right. So, what has happened? We start off this way. And towards kind of the end of the expansion, these kind of candles came in. So, again, is it linear? Is it consistent? Well, it is not. So, certainly, when you see charts like this, when we'll go on to the charts, you will see they do not look as smooth and clean. Now, take, for example, an expansion of this case. If we take a normal stock which is not in circuits or anything as such, they will usually look like this. So, they'll usually have back to back candles, pretty good, or maybe in between couple of inside candles or candles like that. But apart from that, you will keep having candles like this. Okay. Almost most of the candles will be very similar. Just a few ones will be like this. Apart from that, very consistent candles you will have. So let's say this is 10%, this will be 12, then this will be 14, this will be 10 again, this will be 12 again. That's how it will look like. And you will see that these are charts, which most of the people, everyone will agree that, okay, they are much smoother and cleaner. Why is that? When you see overall structure, over time, it has done the same, right? It has moved same in terms of the price over time. And when you actually break it down to individual candlesticks, you will see most of the candlesticks are really good looking, consistent in their size and shape as well. They will not have the case that, a couple of candles are good and then 10 candles are having high wicks. No, yes, there will be few candles, but even those will be very small in size, right? So even consistency will be there. But apart from that, even individual candles will have a very good solid looking bodies, like extremely good candles. So consistency, overall structure, and consistency also in the individual candlesticks as well. Okay. Similarly, you can actually imagine for contractions as well. So with contractions, at times what you will see is, they actually start with a very big red candle. That's how they kind of start. And as they go down, the candle starts getting smaller and smaller. Okay. This is something you probably would have observed a lot happening. And then, you will start seeing candles which are green as well. So maybe you get something like this. Then again, you get a red one. And, the element of wick will start coming in as well. But yes, over time, you will see the bodies get smaller. It started off really bad. So again, does it look smooth, linear to you? It won't look when you actually see the entire structure. Same thing here. You start off well with small body stocks, right? Something like this. Then maybe we have few green candles as well within those. And then eventually, you start getting candles like this. So getting bigger as we move ahead. Even these will not look that smooth and linear to you overall as a structure. Why? Because they will have candles which again individually are not consistent, and this is how they will look like, right? And when you actually see the smooth linear contractions, you will actually see the candles are pretty much consistent. If a contraction has small bodies, you will see that mostly it will be of small body candles only. Yes, there can be few candles, but apart from that, at times it can be contraction going down, or at times it can be a contraction that is not going anywhere sideways, more sideways element to it. This is something that you will observe. So this is what smooth and linear charts will look like to you. Okay, now just take a look over here. Now let's go and actually watch a few example charts. So let's see. Let's pick a few stocks from here, right? Let's see this guy. Now look here. Pay attention to the way the stock is moving up. Every single time when it is moving up, look at the candles over there. Look here. Look at individual candles. What are the characteristics of individual candles? You'll see most of them are full body, right? And that's why it looks so smooth and clean to us, right? But you also see that there's this kind of parabolic expansion, right? 12%, 16, 32, 71, right? But if you individually see each white candle of the expansion, you will see they're absolutely gorgeous. They're almost full body with no amount of wick anywhere. And that is what gives it the appearance or visual appeal of being smooth and clean or linear. Same thing happening right now as well. Okay, let's have a look at this stock. Now, take a note here. Look at these candles, right? And when you actually try to compare this with the previous one, this might not come across as smooth as the previous one. Do you know why? Because we do have presence of candles with wick in between and inconsistent size of the candles. True, you can see that. Now switch to a stock like this. So see over here. Look at this up move. Look at this expansion. And look at the quality of candles. They will look absolutely smooth to you. Right? This is what kind of a smooth chart will look like to you. Then watch a chart like fact. Now, when we go back and when we see, when it was doing really great, when you look at this expansion, look at the individual quality of candlestick, of the white ones. Individually, they are literally the best you can get. But then, tell me, does this look smooth and linear to you? On an individual candlestick basis, absolutely. But when you see as a structural whole, it's not, right? Why is that? Presence of these inconsistent candle in this expansion, right? In this entire expansion, when you see from here to there. Now, try to contrast this with something like this. Okay. When we see, let's say, the weekly of this. Now, look at this expansion. Look, every single individual candle 12, 11, 15, 21, 21. Pretty good. And the candles look pretty amazing as well. So, pretty much consistent going up the expansion, right? And that kind of has stayed like that. Yes, there is a presence of these small candles in between, but then that's about it. Look, we are consistent again 21, 17, 27%, right? And again, look at the individual brilliance of these candles. Absolutely brilliant. So these are what smooth linear charts or expansions look like. And kind of the same thing has happened over here again. Now, let's have a look at expansions which are just all right, which is the case that we discussed. Now, look at the way this expansion started 34%, amazing looking candle. Then we had a 10.9% candle, pretty good one. Then again, at till this point, the individual quality of the candle were amazing. But what started happening? We started off with 34%, and then we ended up with candles of 2.69, 1%, 4%, 0.25, and 4% again. So do you see this happening? Curvature that we learned. Individual candles amazing, but the way expansion has ended, so basically towards the end of the expansion, which kind of is here, it did not do great. Now the question is, what would have made this expansion really great? And when I say what would have made this expansion really great, I mean right now when I see individually great, could have been better? Yes. When it could have been better? When we actually started our contraction right from this point. We started contracting like this here. Then it would have been such a good one. But this slight increment in the price over time makes the whole structure not that great. And that kind of leads to, volatile structures at the end. I can show you a lot of examples and a lot of counter examples for this as well. So if you see the chart of this, the recent moves that have happened. Now just look at this expansion. Where did it start? It started here exactly. And where did it end? With this only. All right. So the start was really amazing. End of the expansion is also really great. And the individual candle quality is just as good as it can be. True, it did not happen that we slowly just started inching up. That was not the case over here. We just stopped right then and there. And then look at the quality of contraction as well. Is it now, do you call this as a very smooth and linear contraction? Yes, a lot of you will. Why? What makes you say that? It's the consistency in the size of these red candles. These are small red candles, right? That is what makes it really consistent and great. Versus when you actually see a contraction like this or like this, you will see that the consistency is actually missing. You had small body candle till this point, then again there is a good candle, and then there is a big candle. So it's not very consistent, and which will usually lead you to saying, okay, this is not so smooth or clean. And again, there's a great example. Look at this entire expansion that has happened over here. Does it look smooth and clean to you visually? The answer will be no. Why? What are the data points behind that? What are the objective reasons you are saying that? It is because the inconsistent characteristic of the appearance of these candles. You see, even the individual candle quality is just not that great, right? Almost each of the white candle is having upper wick, right? And then there's this presence of these candles literally all over the expansion, right? So that is again important to be noted. And then if you go back in time, look at this expansion, individual candle quality. Just too amazing, right? Okay. Let's see a few more. Let's see this guy. So, no, it was doing up really great. And a lot of people will say, hey, this is a very linear, smooth looking chart. Why? Consistency of the candles in the expansion and the way expansion is ending. So, you see, starts off really well, ends off really well. And that is kind of the characteristics. Then there was this another stock. I think it is mm, this guy. Yeah. Now, look at this expansion. The way it starts, the way it ends. It literally ends here, right? And then look at the consistency. So 20%, 16%, 20% again, and then it kind of goes into the circuit limit. Look at the individual candle quality, and then look at the consistency this entire expansion had. That is what makes it really good. We can take a few more examples. So let's say Apollo. Now look at this. Started off really well, but you see, when you actually compare this to the other charts that you have seen, you will find, well, okay, good expansion, great expansion, but not as smooth and clean. Why is that? Inconsistent appearance of candles. You see, suddenly there is a minus 10% candle, and even after that, the expansion has carried on. So, this entire area, when you collectively watch it, doesn't look so smooth and clean, right? As let's say, even if you watch this area, you started off really well over here, but then this led to this, right? And then look at the quality of expansion here. You see almost each candle is around the similar percentages. So starts off really well, ends really well, and in between there is no absence of a candle which is inconsistent. There is no presence of candle like this. But as soon as this area starts happening and then this makes a high, now if I take this entire one areas and one expansion, this area, it will not look that great, right? Which is if I actually shift to the weekly of that area that we marked, you see, if we, let's say, stopped right at this point, this is such a beautiful looking expansion, right? Full body candle. And then we have red candle start. But then this happens. Kind of made a new high, but doesn't add up much. Now compare this. Look at the quality and look at the way it has stopped here. The way it started, the way it stopped. Makes it really great. Okay. Now the point is, if you actually go and look at your great trades, the good trades that you have taken versus the bad trades, loss making trades that you have taken, you will find most of the good trades actually had a really good end to the expansion. Hmm? Because they actually lead to much smoother, cleaner stocks with less volatility, which leads to no unnecessary stop losses and all those things. Now have a look at the quality of this expansion. You will find that, okay, certainly this is not smooth and great. Why? What things is your brain looking at? Inconsistencies. So when you actually find consistency on the charts, you feel really good. You say it clean or smooth. But when you find inconsistencies like this, and then presence of these candles, then presence of smaller body candles as well, and big bodies as well, you find that, okay, this is not smooth and linear, right? But when you find something like this consistent, you usually like those candles. Look at this guy. Now, if you watch it on a daily, right, have a look at the quality of this expansion. So consistent back-to-back candles, pretty good, right? 17%, 14%. This is kind of an inside bar, but really good, right? And look at the individual brilliance of these candles, these two candles. Almost pretty great. This is what makes a chart smooth and clean. But if you just compare this to this, you will find that this was much smoother. Why? Because no inconsistencies were present over here, which actually are a few over here. So that's the way to look at the charts and quantify whether something is smooth or linear or not. So the actual thing that you are watching is consistency, right? Whether it is the contractions or whether it is the up moves. So I hope this clears the subjective ground around the use of words like smooth, clean, linear charts. And again, there is just a lot to be discussed around this topic, which we will do as we move ahead. But I'll keep it till this point in this lecture. So thank you for watching.